Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kayla, but all my friends call me Bayla. I'm 24 years old and I live in Pennsylvania. I'm originally from New York, but as you guys all know, New York is hella expensive. So we've been in PA for about a year now, me and my fiance, and we just recently had a baby girl in November, and I wanted to share my labor story with you. There are so many things that I want to share with you guys that I wasn't really aware of while I was pregnant, and also about the postpartum period. So that's what my channel will be all about. Feel free to subscribe and like this video. So here's a disclaimer. I'm going to be 100% real with you guys and let you guys know the good, the bad, and the ugly about delivery, about the postpartum period, about just being a mom as well, because I feel like I was prepared, but no one really told me about, you know, how much pain I was going to be in during delivery, or, you know, after having the baby, how things were going to be. And, you know, of course you just have this optimistic viewpoint of how things are going to be, but no one really tells you the bad or the ugly. So I am going to keep it 100% real with you guys and let you guys know everything that I have learned along the way. My baby girl, she was born November 5th. She was born at 8:53 p.m. and she weighed 7 pounds and 3 ounces. I actually had to be induced because I don't think she was like really ready to come out as of yet. I was about 40 plus weeks, 41 weeks when I was induced, and basically they induced me because my blood pressure was high. I went into the doctor, actually went into the hospital a few days before being induced because I was having some really bad contractions, and I was thinking, you know, maybe this is her coming out on her own, you know, naturally. That's what I was really hoping for, a natural birth. But of course things didn't go my way. Things don't always go as planned. So basically I went into the doctor because I was having some really bad contractions, and you know, they checked my cervix and everything. They were like, yeah, you're not really dilated yet. I was only about at a 2 when they checked, and basically you have to go from 2 to 10 before the baby is like really ready to, you know, come out. You're ready to push and everything. When you get to 10 centimeters, that's when they tell you to push. So I was really disappointed. I was like, oh goodness, I thought that this was, you know, her coming. No, it was not. I went in again to the doctor another day. Actually, my fiance was not with me because he was in New York. His son's birthday party was that weekend, and I went into the doctor, and honestly I wasn't very like scared, even though I was by myself. I just knew kind of in my heart that she wasn't gonna come, you know, without her dad being there, and I wasn't gonna let anything happen without her dad being there either. So I was sure like she wasn't coming this time. So I went into the doctor. They checked my cervix again. They said I was still at a 2, and after checking, TMI, I had my bloody show. I was thinking, okay, I got a little scared after that because I'm like, I was reading online that after your bloody show you normally go into labor. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll start going to labor, but come to find out, labor can be from a few hours to a few days. You can be in labor from a few hours to a few days. So yeah. So after that I went home. They let me go home because they didn't have enough room in the hospital. They were actually going to induce me that day, but they didn't have enough rooms available. So that was perfect because, as I said, her dad was not there. I was having contractions all throughout the weekend, and then Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. we went in to be induced. I ran and got some food before going to the hospital, and I'm so glad I did because I was not allowed to eat anything throughout my whole delivery. Basically I went in, like I said, at 7:30, and she wasn't born until 8:53 p.m. so that would have been a long time without food. I'm glad I got some food before going in and being induced. So as I said, we got in at 7:30, you know, we got comfortable and everything. The nurse came in and checked me, and she said I was still at a 2, but my cervix was soft and everything. So everything was progressing as it should be. They just wanted my contractions to be closer together, and they wanted them to be stronger because I was having like sporadic contractions and for the baby to come out, you know, you have to have contractions that are at least a minute to 3 minutes apart. So they gave me a drug called Pitocin, and that basically made my contractions very, very intense. They were very painful. I was not prepared for that part of labor. You know, of course they tell you, oh yeah, contractions hurt, you know, labor hurts, but I was like, okay, I should be able to handle this. I did not want to or I didn't want to use epidural. I just wanted it to be a natural labor. But as I said before, you know, things don't always go as planned. So basically, they gave me the drug and it made my contractions closer together. The contractions were very, very intense, honestly. Like, they were very close together and very intense. At first, you know, they started me off with a small dosage, and then my nurse, she kept on increasing the dosage as time went on to make sure that the contractions were as strong as they needed to be. I decided to get in the tub when things got a little hectic. The water did help a bit, but honestly, I was still in pain. I really felt the contractions a lot, and that was really like making me very irritable, and I was in a lot of pain. Fast forward, I spoke to my nurse and I told her, you know, this pain is getting pretty intense. Is there anything you can give me? I didn't want to do the epidural at first, so I decided to get the IV medication that they had that would basically drip through my IV and go in my veins instead of going into my spine like epidural. So they gave me that. The drug's name was Stadol. Now, I wasn't aware that it was an opioid, and I wasn't aware also what effect it would have on me. I guess everyone reacts to it differently. Basically, I was on the drug and I just felt very groggy, and I just did not like the feeling at all. I remember telling my fiance, like, babe, I don't like this feeling. Like, it felt really weird. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I kind of regret getting that drug, and I'm glad that thankfully the drug wore off within the 2 hours. And from there, after it wore off, honestly, I was in so much pain. Like, while being on the drug, I was fine, because one thing the drug does do, you don't feel any contractions at all. I'll give it that. Like, I didn't feel any contractions at all, but it just made me feel like very groggy. My nurse was telling me, you know, you should get some sleep, but every time I would sleep, I would get really bad dreams. So I just stayed up and, you know, dozed off every now and then, but every time I would doze off, I would wake back up. From there, they decided to give me a medicine ball. I took a walk in the hallway. That helped, because, you know, you're not just confined to the room. I tried to stay active and get her going and get me going. I was bouncing on the medicine ball, and then, because I had one at home too, and it really helped me at times, but bouncing on the medicine ball at the hospital while you're having contractions, it was so it was painful. I was like, oh no. So I got up, and from there, I think I was like rocking back and forth because I was having a really intense contraction, and my water broke. I was just so surprised, because I was like, it was no warning. The water just gushed right out. Like, my nurse came, she's like, oh my goodness, your water broke. And that was great also, because they wouldn't have to break my water for me, which I've heard can be pretty painful. So perfect, my water broke. From there, I feel like things just like went like, she was ready to come out after my water broke. It was just like things just sped up. Things started progressing so fast. I was kind of nervous at that point, actually. When my water broke, I went from I was at 7.5 centimeters, and basically the water, like your amniotic fluid, helps to cushion the baby so you don't really feel them pressing down. After my water broke, I really felt her like pressing down, like really ready to come out, and it was like she was like basically like pressing through my hips or trying to come out through the, you know, birth canal. But I really felt it, and I was just like, I couldn't deal with the pain at that point anymore. I tried to get back to the tub, and that did not work for me at all. So I was just like, you know what, I spoke to my nurse. I'm like, I want to get the epidural. She was like, okay, this would be a great time to get it, because if you wait any longer, after a certain point, you won't be able to get the epidural. It'll be too late. So I told her, I was like, okay, you know what, let's do it. She held my hands. I loved my nurse. She was so nice. The nurse staff was wonderful. She held my hands while I was getting it. And the only thing about the epidural, like, I'm not scared of needles or anything like that, is number one, it goes into your spine. So I was a little, like, you know, skeptical about that. And then number two, you have to be completely still while they're giving you the epidural. So the person that's administering the epidural can get it to go into the right location and not, you know, mess up or hit something that they're not supposed to be hitting with the needle. So meanwhile, I'm trying to stay still while the person is putting the needle in my back, and I was having a very intense contraction. So my fiance went to go out and get some food. So they checked me basically while he was out. I was at a 10 and they were saying that they could see her head. Like, they wanted me to start pushing right then and there, but I was just like, you know what, I can't, like, I have to wait for him to come back so we can get this going. So I called him, I'm like, babe, you know, they said that they can see her head, they want me to start pushing. He was like, you know what, I knew this was gonna happen. So he hurried up and got back to the hospital. He brought the food, and at that point he dropped everything, he got ready, and they were like, all right, we're ready to have her start pushing. So started pushing. They were coaching me the whole time. Thankfully, this whole time that everything was going on, I didn't feel it. Like, I couldn't feel like anything below my waist. So everything below my waist was pretty numb. I was able to move my legs, which a lot of people say they're not able to, but I was able to move my legs. And it was just like I couldn't move them as fast as I wanted to, but I was able to move my legs. But I couldn't feel like anything that was going on down. I started pushing. They're like, every time they told me to push, it was like during a contraction. I couldn't feel the contractions, but my nurse was watching the monitor and she was like, okay, you're having a contraction, push. So I would push for probably about like a minute or so. After the contraction was over, I would stop and rest, you know. All in all, I would push for about 25 minutes and out she came. It was just such a wonderful experience, like having her come out. And at first I was a little worried because I didn't hear her cry right away. But I asked, you know, is everything okay? They were cleaning her up and, you know, getting her fluids out of her throat and everything. And they actually, I wanted my fiance to cut the umbilical cord, and I actually wanted them to do like a delayed cord cutting. But of course, things did not go as planned. So the thing was, actually my placenta actually decided not to come out with her. Basically, after you give birth, your placenta is supposed to come afterwards as well. But it did not come out after Khaliah came out. So they actually had to go in there after cutting the cord. They went in there and had to find it themselves. So basically, she was fine. She started crying. They put her on my chest and everything. And honestly, I started crying as well because it was just such an emotional moment. Just having her in my arms finally after holding her for 9 months. It was just like, oh my goodness. I couldn't believe it finally came to be. Like, she was finally here and finally into the world, and at such a fast rate to me. It was just so funny. But as I said, I was crying and my fiance was just looking at us both, and we were just so happy. And she was good. So I asked, you know, is she okay? And they were like, yeah, she's good, she's great. But for me, I actually started hemorrhaging. The bleeding wasn't stopping basically after pushing her out. So they actually had to go inside, and they figured out that my cervix ripped. I don't know how that happened. They never really explained all the details, and at that moment too, I was pretty out of it because of the epidural. But yeah, my cervix ended up ripping, so they had to go in there and stitch everything up. And the funniest thing is when they were stitching me up, I ended up falling asleep. I was so tired, I guess, and then of course the epidural being in my system as well. It was just so much. I just fell asleep right as they were operating me. And I remember my midwife looking at me like, is she sleeping? And I was snoring like loudly. But during that time, my fiance was holding the baby and making sure she was okay, and they were, you know, getting their bonding time going, and getting their skin to skin contact, and I just was knocked out. So I'm very glad I did get the epidural, because like I said, after delivering her and then my cervix ripping, them having to go in there and sew everything up, that would have been pretty painful for me, I can admit. But yeah, so you know, after they sewed me up and everything was okay, my doctor took great care of me. They, of course, they have to press your stomach. They wanted to, I guess they have to feel where your cervix is. It was weird, but it definitely hurt a lot. And I actually ended up throwing up at one point too. I vomited while they were operating on me. I hadn't eaten anything, but I was drinking a lot of water, so it was mostly fluid that came up. And then, you know, just me being so hungry, and then them operating on me and things like that. I don't know, like during my whole pregnancy I didn't have any morning sickness, but at that moment I couldn't keep, like, you know, I just kept on vomiting and vomiting. But yeah, so they sewed me up and everything was fine after that. They did a great job, honestly. I really commend my nursing staff, my doctors, my midwives, and everything. They really took great care of me. Afterwards, I finally got to hold my daughter. They cleaned her up, and you know, they handed her to me finally. We got to spend some time together, and it was just a wonderful experience, like a beautiful experience for me. And you know, I'm just so happy that everything, although it didn't go as planned, I must say my labor was not one of the worst stories that I've heard, and everything happened pretty fast. I can say from 7:30 a.m. to 8:53 p.m. she was born. So it's just like, you know, at least I was in labor for about 12 hours, but at least it didn't prolong to 24 hours or a day or 2 days. So I'm happy about that, because I've heard so many people say that they've been in labor for days and days and days. So yeah, I'm just glad that she's finally in this world, and she's just the most beautiful thing. She's growing so fast. It's just amazing to see. But yeah, so that's my labor story. I will definitely be having more content to come soon. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment. Thank you guys for watching, all my fat mamas out there.